Hello, this is Professor Paul Gruhn from the ICM class teaching the FileZilla badge. Welcome to the class. And my assumption in this set of videos right here is that you have zero experience with HTML. If you're a web designer and you've already done web work and web design, you can probably look at the handout, know where I'm going with this, and just crank this out pretty quickly. And go for the end game directly. Don't worry about going through each step on these videos if you already know what you're doing with HTML and CSS. And I'm going to have this stuff out on my website as well that you'll be able to take a look at the view source and figure it out from there. But my assumption here is that you have no experience. So let's get started. What we're going to do is I'm using a Windows machine, but the same principles and everything will apply on your Mac. If you're using a Mac, you'll need Text Wrangler. If you has an editor, you're not allowed to use any Adobe type products for WYSIWAG drawings and things like that. You can use gedit or some other text editing tool. For Windows, I like using Notepad++, and that's definitely a good tool to use. So let's right-click, New, create a folder, and let's call this ICM505. And that folder will end up out on your website under the www public folder. Let's click into that, and then let's create two new folders, one called CSS, and right-click another folder called IMG. I'm going to give you a couple of files to put in these folders. They'll be available. Hello, come on, click. In the image folder, right now at this point, there'll probably be a couple more as we go along. There's a picture of me and a picture of my Corvette. You can replace those with any picture that you want. Obviously, you don't want a picture of me on your website. And then I'm going to provide you a CSS file called normalized.css. What normalized.css is, it helps all of the browsers view your HTML5 code correctly, and there's always cross-browser problems, and this will help eliminate those, and it kind of levels the playing field before you start adding CSS to your file, and you'll see that coming into play later on in the videos when we get to rendering and displaying your data. I'm going to kind of push this off to the side a little bit, and let's open up Notepad++ or your text editor. And let's go ahead and create a web page. Okay, HTML is basically a markup language, and what it is little tags, little codes are typed, and the browser reads them and interprets them in such a way so you can view the page the way you want. And we're going to be following HTML5 standards throughout this class. The first tag you need is Doctype Html, basically telling the browser what type of file you have. And then you need a pair of tags, and most tags do come in pairs. So there's a few tags that are individual. You need an HTML tag. Let's type this right. And then down at the very end, you need to close that tag with a /HTML. And then what we need to do is create two sections. We need to create a head section. A lot of pre-processing for your page happens in there. And then we need to create a body section. And then we're going to close the body section as well. So now you can see that we have the head section. And actually, right now, let's save this real quick. File, save as. And I want to save this in that ICM505 folder that we just created. and we're going to call this index.html. What happens is when you have a folder, like we're going to have ICM505, if you have a page called index.html, the web software will automatically display that page, so you don't have to type www.yourdomain.com/ICM505/index.html. If you had some other page like About Me or something like that, you would have to type in the whole page name for it to display the URL. So here's index.html. Let's save it. And what's really nice is with Notepad++, and I also believe with Text Wrangler, you now start to get a sense of the editing software that's available. I might even have a plugin. Maybe it comes with it automatically, but there are a bunch of plugins available for Notepad++ to make the tool a little more powerful. But I think HTML by default, what's really nice, when you click on a tag, you can see the beginning and ending tag. Click on the HTML tag, you can see the beginning and the ending. Here's the head tag. So it makes life a little easier to see stuff. So within our head section, let's create a title tag, and I'm going to call it ICM505-Professor Gruhn. And I'm going to close the title tag, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to come over to my folder now, and I'm going to double click on this, and my browser popped up over here, and now you can see I have a great blank piece of paper here. However, notice up here in my tab, it says ICM505 Professor Gruhn. That is because of the title tag. Also, having title tags helps search engines. So having a title tag that is informative and might have some things that people can search on, that would search on in Google to find your website help. I've actually seen it where what they would do is then put after here a lot of other words separated by commas and things like that to actually try to stuff the title tag, so to speak, with key terms and key phrases that might people might search on, and it helps raise your search, your analytics and your search engine likelihood of getting displayed quicker and higher. So now let's think about our web page, and that what we want to have is we want to have a header section, a main body, and then a footer section. And in the header section, we want to have a navigation bar. So CSS, HTML5 and CSS3 provide us some tags. Here's header, and I'm closing it. And notice I click on header that it's recognizing those tags. And then within the header tag, I'm going to put a nav tag, and I'm closing the nav tag. And then I'm going to create after the header, create a main, and that's where we'll put our main body and content on a given page. And then footer. Okay, so now if we save this and we come back out to our page and we refresh it, we notice nothing at all has changed. And that is, and if I right click and if I view page source, all of those tags are in fact there, but those are non-displayable tags. They are just informative to the browser, and they'll work with the CSS pages that we'll be creating later on. So now what to do is in this header tag, but before the nav bar, notice here we've got header, and then inside we have nav. So I'm just going to put menu here. I'm going to put header here. I'm going to come down to my main tag, main content here, and then footer info here. So now I have some text. I'm going to save that, and I'll refresh the page. And now we can see where it's all laid out. Not too pretty, definitely not, but at least we can start getting, we have some content and stuff that we can start working with and displaying. So now let's start doing some work here. Let's change header here to so I'm going to call this Professor Gruhn's ICM505 jump page. Okay, and quite honestly, you can call it whatever you want, and that's fine. And where it says menu, let's go ahead and let's build our menu. We're going to get a little complex here. We're going to teach you the unordered list tag, but let's get a menu up and running. So I'm going to go in a couple of spaces. I'm going to start the unordered list tag. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to close it. And I always like to try to start and do my sets of tags together, just that way I know they're already ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do an LI. This is for a list item, and I'm going to close it. And then within there, I'm going to create a link, an ahref tag, and it's a space href equals double quote pound sign double quote, close it, and then I'm going to put just the letter X here for a minute, and then I'm going to close the A. This pound sign right here basically is a filler. It will not go to any page. And here you can see this is the beginning of the tag and this is the ending of the tag. And we're going to want a total of four pages for our website. Along the way, you'll probably change it, and at some point, please feel totally free to make this your own, do whatever you want with it. The point here is to learn and understand, excuse me, the content of what it is you're trying to do and build, and make it your stuff. About me, and then let's go resume, and then hobbies, and then I want a page called badges. Okay, let's save that, and then let's refresh the page, and you can now see this unordered list is here. So now what we've done is we've created a pretty ugly page, but we've got the key elements and the key content pieces that we need. We need a doctype tag, we need an HTML beginning, starting, and closing tag. We need a head, beginning and closing tag, a title tag, and remember that title information is not displaying on the page, but it's playing in the tab. We have a footer, starter, and end. We have a header, and those are just sectional, and you'll see how they kick in a couple of minutes in the next video. We have a nav tag, and we've built an unordered list with list elements to then display things that we would be clicking on, the main body, and the footer. What I'd like to do is while we're here and we can do this in just a couple of minutes. I'm trying to get this to be short. I'm going to jump out real quick and let's go to lipsum.org, I think it is. Yep. And let's just get some filler text. And I love this little website for getting filler text. If you see right here, it says I can go paragraphs 5 and some lorem ipsum. And what it did for me is it displays 5 paragraphs of text. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to copy the text, Control C, copy it, and I'm going to pop it right here into the main. I'm going to actually pop it underneath the main content like that. So now what you can see is 5 paragraphs of text stuck within our main content. Let's save this, come back to our web browser, come back here, and now refresh the page. And we have one big paragraph of text. The reason it did this, that even though the text here actually has spaces in it. The web browser doesn't interpret those spaces at all. And it just jams everything together. So what we're going to do is let's take this main content and let's add an H1 tag for header and close that. And then there's a P tag for paragraphs. And for each one of these, I would like you to add the P tag. So at the beginning of that paragraph and at the end of the second paragraph, a couple more to do. Okay. And then let's save that. Now that we have these paragraph tags, and again, these are all in sets. Notice as I highlighted, there's a set, there's a pair there, pair there, pair there. Let's get rid of these spaces here. Let's save that. Now come back out to our web page. And now you can see we're starting to get a little more stuff here. And the more I think about it, I want to make a quick change. Let's do this. Let's make this main content here. Let's make that an H2 tag. And then let's come up here to the professor, your title, and let's make that an H1 tag. Now, let's save that. And now let's display this. And now you can see the H1 tag is nice and big. We have our ugly menu. We have a smaller H2 tag. We have some paragraph stuff here. And we have then footer information here. I want to teach you two other tags, and then we're going to go on to a formatting video. But down in footer information, let's take that. And I'm going to put Professor Paul Gruhn, and I'm going to make up a pretend street address. So it's up to you if you want a street wherever, somewhere. How about somewhere, Connecticut, 06891, boom. Okay. So now I have these lines of code here and has an address, and I might even want to put a phone number, 123, 123-1234. So now I'm going to save this, and again, this is in the footer section here. I'll refresh the page, and notice that it's not all on one line. It's actually all on multiple lines. It's all on the same, it's all on one line. It's not on separate lines, even though we typed it on one. What you need to do is a hard carriage return. And so you add the BR tag to the end of each line. And then we save it. And then we refresh our page. And now we've got the address in that section there. So that's how you get a carriage return, is one with the P tag here. You see the P tag created paragraph sections, but the BR tag created just an immediate hard return without that extra space in there. One other tag, let's separate this and let's add an HR tag for a horizontal rule. And so I'm going to add an HR tag right there. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to refresh the page. And now notice what happened to the page is that there's this line right here as the horizontal rule. I could put one between the menus and stuff, but we're going to be making that kind of pretty and stuff later, so don't worry about that just yet. So this actually gets us in a pretty good place where we now have a template page that we can then build off of and make other pages with from here. But we're going to make this a little fancier before we actually create our template.html that we'll use kind of throughout the class for here. So that should get us started where you have learned a bunch of tags in just a short period of time. Doctype, HTML, head, title, body, header, main, and footer, and nav are area tags, the unordered list and the list element, the H2 tag, and the H1 I think was up here, and then the HR tag, the BR, and there's the end footer, and all. Oh, I forgot one other one. Let's write here. Give me an extra space. Again, we're within our footer element. I'd like you to use the address, the address tag, and then close the address tag as well. Okay, we'll save that. And now let's come back here. And what happens is address does some defaulting things here. Watch what happens. I'll refresh the page. It just makes it italics and looks there. So it's a little different than your main body tag. And we'll be able to format all that stuff however we want to, whatever is going to work for us. We might not like to use up all of that vertical space. Maybe what I could do here is I could actually delete that BR tag. And I could put this up here and save it. Refresh the page, and now we're there. And then I'm going to add one other tag to the address tag. And where I have Professor Gruhn, I'm going to add a strong tag. I'm going to start with the word strong, and then I'm going to close the word strong. And I'm going to save that. And then what I'm going to do is refresh my page, and there we go. So now we're starting to get a little bit of formatting. It's not gorgeous, but it's getting us started, kind of getting the right way. And you've actually learned a whole lot of tags in 22 minutes. And you've got the basic pieces to start building a page. More important, what you've learned too is the idea of working in your text editor, making a couple of changes, add some tags, save it, and then viewing the page. And what I like doing is I kind of talk about it as a dance. The first step of the dance is to create the page. The second step of the dance is then to test the page. And then once you've tested it and you've gone back and forth, create, test, then the third step of the dance is to use the FileZilla FTP software and put it out on the internet, and then view and refresh your page out there and test that. So, and it becomes a very repetitive process where you create the page, test it, create it, test it, create it, test it. Then once you're good, then you push it out to the internet, and then you test it again out there. So you're developing your pages locally, and then once it gets done, you'll FTP using FileZilla, or if you're on a Mac, you might use CyberDuck or Fetch. There is FileZilla for a Mac as well. Sometimes there's a little hiccup when you install it, but there's documentation out on the web how to get around that. But the good news is we have a basic page, and it's not pretty, but it is HTML. It's HTML5 compliant. We're using the right standards for that. And let's watch the next video to see about making it look a little nicer.